Welcome back to Marvel Maniac, an MCU after show. This is Eric Cicada, your host, aka Mr. Honest. It is great to be back here with you today for the season finale of Loki. I cannot believe that we're back for another season finale. This is our third season finale of a TV show, of a Marvel TV show on our podcast already. Yeah, unbelievable. I am so proud of that. And our series launched Marvel Maniac on January 15th of this year with WandaVision, which, by the way, WandaVision, it was nominated for a ton of Emmys. What the heck? That is one of my favorite shows of all time that I covered on a podcast that I'm super proud of. Just got nominated for a ton of Emmys. I'm insanely stoked about that. I want to get it up exactly how many. 23 primetime Emmy nominations, including Outstanding Limited or Anthology Series. Bravo, WandaVision. Now, last week I did post my Black Widow review episode. It was the most interesting for me review episode to do because I did not have the movie in front of me. I went to go see it in theaters, as I said. So I have that up from last week, and I'm gonna say I'll be honest. My name is Mr. Honest. Probably not my best episode. I want to go back and maybe talk about it more, and we're gonna do that next week on my after show for Loki. We're gonna consider it an after show for Black Widow 2. So next week, consider it a double feature after show. We're going to talk about everything next week with my great friends Dustin and TJ, fellow Marvel Maniacs. We've had them on before for our after shows for WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. So next week, 1 week from today, we are going to be talking Loki and Black Widow. Separate sections, so if you haven't seen one or the other yet, most likely you'll have seen Loki if you're listening to this podcast, more or less, and you might not have seen Black Widow yet. If you hadn't seen Black Widow by next week yet, we're going to save that discussion for the latter half of the podcast. Just in case. But I hope you've seen it yet by then, because do yourself a favor, not to put shade on you, do yourself a favor and go see it. No spoilers in this episode at all for Black Widow whatsoever. Don't worry, we won't talk about it. All I'll say is go check it out. It was a ride. And I'm going to say my review was more of a instant reaction. It made me emotional, I think. And I had a lot of memories going into Marvel movies over the last, since 2008 in high school, from when Iron Man came out. Marvel Man. That's a new one, right? Cringe. Yeah, Iron Man. Since Iron Man came out, a lot of memories going to those movies, man. So great times. All right, Loki, let's get started. Let's talk about this insane episode. We go into the timeline here. So we literally start with echoes. We start with hearing Sam say, "Way to go, Tic Tac." We hear "Dance Off" from Star-Lord. We hear the Peggy and Chris Evans. We hear the Peggy and Captain America slow dance song. We hear Ant-Man saying, "He wouldn't have heard of me." We hear, "He's a friend from work." We hear Loki say, "We have a Hulk." Korg. We hear Korg saying something. In the subtitles, you see most of this stuff. It's just splatter from the past, right? Over the Marvel Studios opening. So over these, sounds of the past, we hear even Greta Thunberg saying, "How dare they," which is kind of powerful and epic, but all this crazy stuff we're hearing all at once. And we hear the glorious purpose from last week. Feels... We are getting pulled back through a galaxy. We see satellites really fast, and we're getting pulled. We see planets, we see nebulas. We're seeing pretty much the most epic visuals you can imagine, colors, until we get to the place where Loki and Sylvie are at the end of the timeline. You can literally see the timeline on screen, and there is are they called nebulas or auroras borealis? I think that's what you call it, at the top of the timelines. They're gorgeous. And there they are at the foot of the castle. And we got our title screen, Loki. We have arrived at the end of the void, and our heroes, Loki and Sylvie, the two Lokis. And the castle's a lot bigger, by the way, than it looked. A lot bigger than it looked at the end. I thought it was going to be a tiny little castle. This place is pretty huge. Sylvie asked Loki if she's going to stop him from... if he's going to stop her from kicking the door in this time, and he said it never made a difference in the first place. And she's like, if you think it's a bad idea, I'd prefer for you to speak your mind this time. And he says, well, I have nothing to say this time. And this time, the door actually opens for them. So this is a little intimidating. But at this point, my expectation is... the exceeding of expectations was pretty good here. I don't know how many of you, and... I don't remember or if this shot was used, as Marvel tends to do. Put shots in the trailer of Loki. This Loki putting his arms up. This Loki in this glorious armor. Right? Yeah. We didn't see that shot in the show. I think Marvel wanted us to believe, or wanted anyone really speculating, if anything, to believe, the speculators to gather. See, to gather that Loki, there's a Loki at the end of all this. To diverge us from this. Who is this? Who is this man? Who is he who remains? Well, it can be no other than Kang the Conqueror. And who is Kang the Conqueror? This is the I mean, there are many people theorizing this as well, but it would make much more sense in a way, like strategically, and like it's almost like it would be like from the perspective from the other shows, like WandaVision, if it was like Falcon and Winter Soldier, not that those are bad shows, but like if this were just a regular frickin' TV show that had no impact on the rest of the MCU, this would have been just Loki at the end of this thing. But this is just this is not just Loki. This is like okay, from everyone else's perspective, this is just another guy, right? Guys, this is who is... all right, this might just be another actor. This guy's going to play an integral part in the MCU. He pretty much told us what he's going to do, and we're just like Sylvie right now. We have to choose to believe him, and he's just on this tiny, maybe in tiny TV show. This show's freaking huge, but I think this is Kang the Conqueror that everyone's speaking about. All these theory videos, Screen Crush, New Rock Stars. Those are my two guys I shout out. There are a lot of other really big theory video, YouTube theory video places that I probably could give credit to. But those are the ones that I pop off at the top of my head. I don't really watch that many. And I really do watch Screen Crush like first. And I will watch New Rockstar. So I'm just going to throw this out there. And I always throw out the ones I do definitely watch. But how about that? Exceeding expectations. I'm going to cut right back to when they're walking in, leading up to that, because we have a little lead up to that. We get a very creepy entrance from Miss Minutes. Hey y'all, she's so creepy. Another thing, to think that it's Loki in presenting himself as a visual. Like he can manifest himself. I'm like, this is Loki easily. This is going to end with a Loki at the end of the timeline. 3 Lokis, 3 timekeepers. I was so ready for that resolution that I was so thrown by the fact that this wasn't a Loki. I was almost so prepared for it to be that I was so thrown off by this twist. I don't know why. I really liked that. I like the twist in retrospect that it's just nobody, but who that nobody represents. And it's not to spoil anything. I don't mean to spoil anything by saying this is Kang the Conqueror, but you can theorize that it's Kang the Conqueror very easily by saying this man will fight many wars, and what he will do to get. We will talk more and more about this because I want to get through the points. We're gonna get right there. There's not many scenes. There's not a lot in this episode but dialogue about this guy, in a way. And rightfully so, because if they're going to introduce a whole new character, a whole new prospect behind this thing, the Oz behind this Wizard of Oz fantasy world and actually have Oz exist and know Dorothy find her way home ruby red slippers. There is no place like home. Actually, there is. Loki can actually go home, man. And think about it. Loki can go back. This exists. Loki and Thor will meet again. The sun will shine on us again, brother. Is that what Loki says? Dude, this episode was insane. The possibilities it opens up are astronomical, and it's just a TV show. You cannot say it's just a TV show anymore these days after this. This is huge. And this is literally groundbreaking, opening up the realm of the Multiverse of Madness. Literally, this is the Multiverse of Madness. This is how we get that. And I've been saying that for a while. Sylvie started those tiny strands when she got some of the Loki variants. Maybe, and if I'm wrong now, let's think here, right? That's how the Loki variants got there in in the last episode. We got all those Loki variants from the last episode at the same time. Count them, right? Or even all those other Loki variants, including President Loki, all those Loki variants. They all got there. I don't know because they didn't catch them all. I don't know. It's so interesting, but the timeline is completely everywhere. Multiversal madness now at the end of this episode. We're skipping everywhere because this episode was nuts, and I can't keep myself contained. When Loki and Sylvie enter the place, Miss Minutes tells them that he is impressed, and they ask them who. He who remains. He created all. He controls all, and in the end, it is only he who remains. Ms. Minutes, did he tell you to speak like this? And even he says later, she's still calling me that? That's still kind of cool, She says that he can put you back in the timeline in a way that won't disrupt things, The TVA can keep doing its vital work, and you can live the lives that you've always wanted to live. Ms. Minutes tells Loki that he will win the battle of New York against the Avengers, and that that's not it. He will kill Thanos and take the Infinity Gauntlet. It's his. And as for Sylvie, all those years on the run, no more. She will wake up tomorrow with a lifetime of happy memories. And Loki says they're going to make their own... They're going to make their own future. It's just, that is all mumbo jumbo. They don't believe it. It's fiction, is what Sylvie says. It's fiction. And Loki says, we write our own destiny now. I love that. But that is the problem. That firm stance there is so challenged this episode by He Who Remains. Sylvie and Loki enter the castle very slowly. It's very dramatically shot. It takes a long time for them to get in. And, there's a lot of tension. You really are dying to know what's going to happen. And there's 3 statues. One statue is completely shattered on the floor. I don't know if this is symbolic of anything. I don't know if maybe something will happen in an alternate timeline here in another movie. I don't know. This could be a whole phase or two worth of shit that can happen in these areas, like the planet in which Peter Quill grabbed the Power Stone, like time travel stuff. And then Loki asks, how can we know that this guy's even alive? But then an elevator door rings, and the door starts to open, and when just at that moment, the elevator pops open, and a man in his 30s with a purple cloak and an apple. He's very charismatic, and he's got a big grin on his face. He pops out of this elevator, and he has all the answers. He says, this is wild. There are 2 of you. Same person. I mean, it's a little unnatural, but, wow. He's just... First, you're thrown off by him. I'm thrown off by him. I'm like, who is this guy? And then Loki gives you the same thing. It's like, you're just a man. And Sylvie says, he who remains. And he replies, he who remains. She still calls me that? That's creepy, right? I like it. I like it too, actually. And Loki and Sylvie just kind of stare at him in bewilderment, just like I am. We're all, it's not underwhelming. At first, I didn't know he was Kang. You don't realize it. It takes a little bit. He says, not what you're expecting, Dude, and he's eating an apple. He's very confident. You get a little bit of what this guy can be, the villain he will become. But this guy's worn out. This guy's been here forever. It's actually in the elevator when Loki says, you're just a man. And the man says, flesh and blood, a little bit disappointing. And then Sylvie says, no, easier to kill. And that's when he just pulls the dodge on her, and he's laughing. He's right behind her. And then he's behind her again, and she slashes, and he's behind her again, and he's on the ceiling, basically. Well, he's on the ceiling. Loki looks at her. I assumed he's on the ceiling because he's just everywhere. He could be on the ceiling. He's at the elevator when they get at the top. They look at each other. They don't know what they're dealing with here. The guy has espresso, apparently. This guy's living good in this palace. I'll say that. He's basically a magician. I gotta say, his room, his office, looks mighty like Doctor Strange's. The windows in it. Doctor Strange's observatory. I don't know if that's on purpose. I don't know if it's a version of it. There's some stuff written on a chalkboard in the background, like an equation or something. I don't know what that is. He's a scientist from the year 3000, 13th century, by the way. So he says long time ago, but he mentions 13th century. So, I mean, it's not that. It's he's from the future, and he's freaking around with the quantum realm, which has already been messing around with plenty in the 2000s, our time, in the MCU. This guy, this mofo, this guy pretty much, Kang, he's just screwing around with multiverse. He's shaking hands. I love the way he describes it. This is pretty much, it explains everything. We could just talk about this all day, but I want to get into I really want to get into this quick, awesome scene here, because first we'll mention that Sylvie and Loki, they take a seat at the man's desk, and then we're in Ravona's office, and this is a great moment. Ravona's like, I said, I wasn't to be disturbed, and Mobius is like, you're not going to be happy to see me. He's back. I'm like, oh man, it's about to go down right now. And if anyone is ever going to make it back to the void, it was going to be you. And he says, oh, well, one man's void is another man's piece of cake. Dude, how great is Owen Wilson here? I know some people, some sarcastically, some not so sarcastically, they wanted to see this man on a jet ski by the end of this episode. Now, hear me out, people. Loki just got confirmed for a season 2. How great is that? At the end of this post-credits, there was a post-credits. There wasn't many post-credits, right? The post-credits was Loki's confirmed for season 2, right? That's what I got for a post-credits. The post-credits we got was Loki is confirmed for season 2. And it's not much, but it's something. And that's pretty great. I'm pretty excited about that. I hope you're excited about that. That's a pretty big deal. I don't know what that means for Kang. I don't know if that means anything. It probably means everything for Kang. But there's lots of versions of him. So there could be multiple Kangs. We don't know what's happening here. This is insanity. So Ravonna asked Mobius if he's going to prune her, and he tells her that his standards are higher. She says that I couldn't let you ruin our mission, and he says, what mission? The timekeepers are fake, and we're all variants. What freaking mission, And he says, she says it can't have been for nothing, and that's why I had to prune you. And then she tries to radio somebody in on him and betray him again. But that's when we find out that Mobius and Hunter B-15, the wonderful Hunter B-15, have figured out a plan to get all the guards back. So in this universe, I hope this story doesn't end. This is the year 2018. They go back to Fremont, Ohio. We get the original Ravonna, and she is a teacher. And I guess this is what B-15's been doing. She has been introducing guard by guard to the real Renslayer. And that convinces each guard. So then they get like an army of guards back. And that's how they take down the TVA. It's pretty sick. I really like that. So we go back next to the big meeting. The meeting of the time. The meeting of time. And he tells them it's been a long journey for you, hasn't it? A lot of running, a lot of pain. He's talking to Sylvie. And then he says, Loki, and then you're a flea on the back of a dragon in for one hell of a ride. But you did manage to hang on. That's good. I guess that counts for something. And Loki says, I'm not sure you understand the situation. You've lost. We found you. And Kang says, of course you did. So he goes to agree with him. And this is when Sylvie goes right at him with the sword at this moment, and he does zoom away. So this is where we get this impression that he is all powerful and he has this edge over them, because at this exact moment he pulls out these drafts of conversation that they're about to be having with him. So there's this intimidating factor about him, but like, I think there is the true factor of we are not listening to the warnings in a way about all the other variants of him. And I don't know if technically he is the worst version of himself, like he's saying, like he's warned them of, or there are other worse versions. But he's telling them he's seen it all, and everything that they have done, like on Lamentus, every step you took to get here, Lamentus the Void, he paved the road. And he says this very definitively. And he looks them both in the eye, and he says, you just walked down it. And I mean, this is a huge moment. This shakes them both to the core. Because we all been on this journey with him. I don't know if he's telling the truth either at this moment. I don't know how he could have possibly paved Sylvie's road. I just don't understand that. You can't get changed by the journey. This is what he says here. I'm going to go back. I have to read what he says. You know you can't get to the end until you've been changed by the journey. He's so cocky because he does know the stuff it needs to happen to get us all in the right mindset to finish the quest. I like him, though. He's freaking awesome. And Loki says it's all a game. It's all a manipulation. And he says, interesting. And that's where your head goes to. The master manipulator. And he says, Sylvie, you think you can trust this guy? And Loki says, don't listen to him. Do you think you're even capable of trusting anyone at all? Like, he's trying to drive a wedge between them. And, I will say that this may be the worst version of this guy, because he's driving a wedge between them, and he's doing everything he can to bargain with them. And then at the end, he just gives them the keys and lets her kill him. But that is because he's so confident that he will come back in another form. He is so sure that he is destined to remain on top. He is so positive that will happen. He's 100%. And I guess that is kind of scary. And that's what makes him an ultimate fear, mindfuck villain. I don't mean to say that, but this really makes you think. Like this breakdown of how he got here, how he will come back when he goes. It's interesting. It circles and circles. Mobius says, I think people are ready to hear a little truth now that the TVA is a lie. And Ravana says, what if it's necessary? Someone created the timekeepers, this whole place, to give us a purpose. I have to believe they had a reason. And Mobius says, no, because I've seen the horror waiting for the people when they get pruned, and there's nothing necessary about that. And she says, you know what that happened if they didn't prune the timeline? Chaos, death, and Mobius says free will. And Ravana is just like startled. She says, only one person gets free will, the one in charge. He remains. We know what he looks like now, so we just think of him instantly because we were just with him. Mobius mutters, friends across time, allies to the end. And, like he says that very sarcastically. And then he says, then you sent me to die. What happened to you? And she says, nothing, Mobius, I didn't change. And he says, you didn't change, you betrayed me. And she says, you betrayed me. I looked out for you, hung my neck out for you, and you suffer a crisis of faith and turn to those variants. Eons of friendship. and you threw it all away on a couple of Lokis. She says, "No, Mobius, I didn't betray you." He tells Ravonna that we can't give away people's free will, and she opens a time door, and he tells her that we can do something better together. He says he's not going to let her go. He activates the baton, and Ravonna says, even with that, you stand no chance. You're no danger to me. And he's like, is that what you think? And he takes a good shot at her, and she puts him right on the ground. And he's like, yeah, you're right. It's really good. I love him. He's just my favorite. It's just good to know that there's going to be a season 2 of this. This is a good show. I love all the Marvel shows so far, but this one, it brought me more laughs, probably the most joy of them all. And I know, all of them did. All of them did. So Mobius asked Ravonna, where are you going to go? And she says, in search of free will. And he looks kind of relieved that she's gone. He who remains is now leaning on his desk in front of Loki and Sylvie, and he says, I understand your moral objections to what the TVA does. The man said he never intended for it to be so strict, but the TVA is necessary, and everything burns in the end, something like that. And Loki says, well, what were you so afraid of? And he says, me. And Sylvie says, who are you? He replies that he's been dubbed many names by many people. Ruler, conqueror, a conqueror there. He who remains a jerk. But it's not as simple as a name. So then he circles his finger on the temp pad on his wrist, and this little liquid pops out on the desk, and it shows his representation of him. He says, eons ago, before the TVA, a variant of myself on Earth lived in the 31st century, so that's about the year 3000, right? He was a scientist, and he discovered that there were universes stacked on top of his own. Okay? At the same time, other versions of us were learning the same thing. Naturally, they made contact, and for a while, there was peace. Narcissistic, self-congratulatory peace. I love your shoes, I love your hair, oh man, nice nose, thanks man, etc. They shared technology and knowledge, using the best of their universes to improve the others, right? However, not every version of me was so pure of heart. To some of us, new worlds meant only one thing: new lands to be conquered. But the peace between realities erupted into all-out war, each variant fighting to preserve their universes and annihilate the others. So, yikes. This was almost the end, ladies and gentlemen, of everything and everyone, he says. So Sylvie says, and then the timekeepers came along and saved us all. He starts to pray. And then he says, no, this is where we branch off from that dogma. We diverge from it. And I love this actor, by the way, Jonathan Majors. And if you go on his IMDb page, there's no spoilers at all. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, he will be playing Kang the Conqueror in the year 2023. So if Loki season 2 comes up before that, we will maybe get some more lead into that movie, where he will be playing Quantum Mania. He will be playing King the Conqueror. Sorry. Anyway, so he says that first variant encountered a creature created from all the tears in reality, capable of consuming time and space itself. A creature you both know, Alioth. So they got rid of it. Bingo. I harnessed the beast's power and began experimenting on it. I weaponized Alioth, and I ended the multiversal war. So, the multiversal war was just all between different versions of Kang. That's sick. That's very cool. Is Alioth then the source of power to all the energy of the weapons and stuff and everything that powers the TVA? So, anyway, He here remains, aka Kang. He says, once I isolated time, all I had to do was manage the flow of it and prevent any further branches, hence the TVA. Hence the timekeepers and highly efficient bureaucracy. Hence ages and ages of cosmic harmony. And he tells them, if you think I'm evil, just wait till you meet my variants. You know, I don't know if he's lying here. I'm going to be straight. I don't know if, like, he's the version that is, like, technically the worst, but, like, that can't be true because we're going to get another version of him in the multiverse. But, like, probably every version's really bad. I don't know, man. I don't know how this works. This is just a drained, old, worn out version of him. So he says, you may hate the dictator, but something far worse is going to fill that void if you dispose of him. We'll see. We'll see. I've lived a million lifetimes. I've gone through every scenario. This is the only way, he says. The TVA, it works. Or you're a liar, Sylvie says. Loki asks if he's going to continue to just prune innocent timelines. And he says, no, you two would. It would be your job now. And the both of you can. You have two options. You can start doing it. You can take my job, or you can kill me. And you can just let the multiverse of madness go crazy. I keep calling it that. Nobody calls it that but me, except for me in the title of Doctor Strange. But that's technically what it is. And Loki asks, why? Why would you let us kill you? And he literally just says, I am tired, dude. Well, man. And he says, buddy, I'm tired. I'm older than I look. This game is for the young and the hungry. He's gone through a lot of scenarios trying to figure out who could take over for him, but it's definitely the two of them. Sylvie says you treated real people's lives like some kind of game. She really means this to his... And he says it's not personal, it's practical. And she says it was personal to me. And then he says, grow up, Sylvie. He screams it at her. He's like, we're all villains here. We've all done horrible, terrible, horrific things. He says now we have a chance to do good by them. Something overcomes him at this moment, and the camera goes really close in on him, and he literally changes. Everything changes about him. His demeanor. He loses his shit, and he says, I fibbed. He thought, I fibbed earlier when I said I know how everything's going to go. From this point on, I knew everything up to a certain point, but now I don't. From this point on, I don't know anything that's going to happen. From this point on, I have no idea. So you see the branches on this timeline outside the castle. It's very pretty, but it's cool. They're just branching off, and he's like, I'm being candid. I don't know what's going to happen. He's losing it. And he's almost like, it's beautiful. And this is Loki. He's like, this is what happens at the end of time. And now you're just going to sit here with all that freedom and let us decide your fate? And he's like, yes, take over. And my life force continues, or you plunge a blade in my chest and an infinite amount of me. Start another multiversal war, and I just end up right back here anyways. He says, no lies, no manipulation. And he looks at his temp pad, and he takes it off his wrist. He puts it on the desk, and he looks at it, and he says, I love this. I love all this honesty. And he just looks at it, and he stares at it, and he says, feels like a fresh start. Yeah, he's very lethargic right now, Kang. This is old, tired Kang. He won. And this is where Loki and Sylvie start to differ opinions. Sylvie lunges at Kang with the sword, and he's not going by Kang yet. I probably shouldn't be calling him that, but whatever. Everyone is going to be doing it by tomorrow. Might as well. And Loki holds her back, and she pushed against him, and he tells her he might be right. Let's talk about it. She says, what if we finish what we started here? He says, I'm a liar, and I don't think he was lying. Not about that. He says, maybe we should think about it. And she asks, what is there to think about? And he says, remove the dictator, and what is there that fills the void? And then Sylvie says, you want the throne. He says, no, that's not it. And she says she doesn't believe him. And he says everything's in the balance. And he just believes what he's saying is true. And he says, what if by taking him out, we unleash something even worse? I believe that too. And he says, I'm suggesting we just take a minute to think about it. It's a good idea, Loki. For once, I promise you from my heart, this isn't about a throne. She says, what was I thinking about trusting you? Loki says, can't you see that this is bigger than our experience? And Sylvie says, why aren't you seeing this the same way? And Loki says, because you can't trust and I can't be trusted. And this is where the fight begins. She says, I guess we're in a pickle. And he says, Sylvie, wait. And she goes right at him with a lunge directly to him. She swipes at Loki, who backs her up. Sylvie deftly ducks his blade and lands a spinning kick before using her magic to throw him into a wall, which cracks beneath him. As Sylvie approaches Kang, Loki uses magic to throw a chair at her, and she falls, deflecting it. Loki runs in front of her, conjuring his blade just in time to stop hers. She swings her sword at him, and he sways to push her back, right in front of the desk. He positions his sword at her throat, and he says, maybe he's lying, maybe he's not. The cost of getting this wrong is too great. And she says, fine, do it. Kill me and take your throne. No, he says, that's not what he wants, Sylvie. Gosh, it's such a Loki move. Sylvie is such a Loki. Sylvie makes Loki disappear before drawing her sword back, and in slow motion she starts swinging it at the man, aka Kang, and Loki appears in front of Sylvie with no sword, and he says, Sylvie, stop. Please stop. Very calmly. This is the great move. This is a great move. No sword. Defenseless. Such a good move, because what does he have here? He says, I've been where you are. I felt how you feel. Don't ask me how I know. And he says, all I know is I don't want to hurt you. And I don't want a throne. I just want you to be okay. Isn't that so sweet? And then they kiss, and the moment happens, and people can be like upset about this maybe weird moment, but it's beautiful to me. I think it's great. I love it, love it, love it. They're not the same person. She says, but I'm not you. And then with a small blast of magic, she sends him through a time door into the TVA. Loki rushes back to the portal, but it vanishes before he can reach it. She kind of doomed him here. You didn't go back here by choice. Sylvie didn't know. Kang says incredible. And yeah, so this is where Sylvie gets her redemption. And she throws the desk aside, and he's laughing at her. And she says, aren't you going to beg for your life? And she stabs him in the chest with her blade. And he says, see you soon. Yikes, 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 yikes. Creepy, yet also awesome and amazing, because I love this type of stuff. What is this setting up? We're going to see this guy do some wickedly disgusting stuff in time travel shenanigans. And where are we going to see Sylvie? She's still around. We get a view of the branches of timelines outside of the window over the dead Kang. The timelines are going crazy at this point. You can see them outside the window, and they're just crossing each other like rapidly. And then we cut back to the TVA, and we see Mobius and B-15 looking at the monitor, and Mobius says, no turning back now. And she says, who said anything about turning back? And they both stare ahead, and at the monitor, and he says, for all time, and she says, for always. She says always. But it's for all time, always. That's the name of the episode. I love that. In the time theater, we have Loki sitting there still, and he's just distraught. He misses Sylvie. He didn't choose this. He's heartbroken, and he's probably still processing everything. And then he realizes, I'm guessing, that he can go find Mobius. He can go maybe get a thing from a locker and go find Thor. He probably realizes he has power now, or of some sort, for some time. Maybe he can go do something. I don't know. Something overcomes him, and he gets up and he runs. The first instinct is to go to Mobius, and he does eventually find Mobius, right? And they're monitoring a temp pad, and it's really well set up here. And he says there's 63 new branches in this unit alone. B-15 says, does he want us to let a small branch? And Loki says, we can't. And Loki tries to explain to them, it's done, Mobius. We made a terrible mistake. And she says, what's done? We freed the timeline. We found him beyond the storm. A citadel at the end of time. He's terrifying. He planned everything, he says. He's seen everything. He knows everything. It's complicated. And he says someone is coming. Countless different versions of a very dangerous person, and they're all set on war. We need to plan, he says. And Moby says, take it easy. What division are you? And what are you talking about? What's your name? And this is the messed up part, okay? But the very best part, this is where get an awesome ending. I don't know, man. Chills. We get a new statue at the center of the TVA. It's one statue, one lone statue. It is of that man. He's wearing a very particular outfit. It's He Who Remains. He is very stoic in his standing. It is very, very regime-like. And I will say, you Google King the Conqueror, do a firm Google search on that. You line those two up with that statue, and that man is wearing the outfit of that comic book character. That is King the Conqueror. That is sick. Yeah. Very exciting, and that is the end of the episode. And we don't get a post-credit scene. The thing we get here is Loki will return for season 2, and that is pretty dang good and pretty dang exciting for me. I don't know about you. Office and Loki will return in season 2. Oh my gosh! So this show, this series Loki was, in my opinion, fantastic. It told a great story and transformed this character from Avengers, that character from Avengers 1 at the end of that movie, into a whole new guy. And as I've seen in comments before, maybe let's think of like the journey this guy went on, and maybe him coming straight out of those series of events. Maybe the PTSD of him getting beat up by the Hulk, jumping right into all this, has given him that, like, humanity. Because what did they do to him after all this in the sacred timeline? They put him in a cell in Asgard for how long? Well, I don't know. If you're looking at real life time, which technically the MCU follows, probably about a year and a half. Loki was just sitting down in that cell. I can see him right now with his long hair and his sadness. He wasn't doing too good down there. That's what made him tell his mom those mean things, and probably sent him down that darker path of, being a kind of a dick up and through Ragnarok, where he redeemed himself and then died in Infinity War. So we get to see one of the best characters in the MCU, villains, might I say, redeem himself as a character. And I was asking my audience and anyone in the audience, how can they do this to this character? How can they do this for this character, especially in this state, coming right out of Avengers 1, which I just watched. And we watched him murder all these people. Natasha Romanoff, our wonderful Black Widow, just told the guy directly to his face, or just told Thor, his brother, in the movie, preceding the events. following this series, she was like, he just murdered hundreds of, like, all these people, at the event at the beginning of the movie, destroying the SHIELD base. And he's like, we barely talk, barely distant relatives. But there's this to say that he was under the control of the Mind Stone when he had the scepter. And I just like the look of Loki with the scepter, by the way. I'm playing Fortnite and I just use that skin with the scepter. Love it. And twitch.tv/Mr. Honest Podcast, by the way. If you'd like to come see me fort as Loki, I don't use the skin all the time. Say you're from Marvel Maniac. That's always me on there. I'm Mr. Honest. Come check it out. That's my little advertisement for this episode. Anyway, I really, I'm going to keep raving about this. Let's bring the conversation over to reddit.com/Marvel Studios, our Marvel Studios. This is my place, my main fix to go to after the show for discussions. So I like to come here and get some after takes. So Gorilla Pete said, so the multiverse war was really just a bunch of Kangs trying to conquer each other. Yes. So MTF replied, apparently so. Shit just got real. Yes. This is where the fun begins, said Kang the Time Lord. Ooh. Kang said that himself. I like that. Tommy K said, so they've already announced Kang for Ant-Man and the Quantum Mania in 2023. Having him show up 2 years early makes him the new big bad, yeah? Tommy K said that. River Jumper 84 replied, different versions of him. Yeah, such a cool idea. Dude, that is so cool. Dude, I love that. I hope my audience doesn't mind me going to get these ideas from Tommy K and River Jumper off of Reddit to bounce off ideas. This is just a little thought jumping, and it's cool because I like the kind of people at Reddit. I like gathering. Marvel saving casting money by making the same actor play different roles. 6, I don't know, 9. Clever name. I don't know if I agree with that because Multiverse is fantastic. Now, I'm gonna ask you this: how are we gonna get out of not getting more Iron Man RDJ and Chris Evans? And I know we completed their stories. Are the multiversal versions of them just going to be different variants actors, or are we not going to even touch that? Because we're breaking multiversal walls, so we're going to see that there's other heroes. It's just there. Conquer. He said it. Yeah, he did say it. He did say the thing. He says conqueror. He does. He says it. Valar Pizzari said that. World in My Eyes says, I became the Leo painting meme at that moment. Dude, I actually felt really validated at that moment because I wasn't sure who this guy really was, and I'd forgotten that there was an actor confirmed to be Kang. And when he said that, it just 100% confirmed to me, oh, that's Kang. I had completely forgotten that there was going to be a Kang. There was an actor confirmed to be him, and I only knew of Kang, right? I knew there was going to be a Kang confirmed, but I didn't know the actor, so I only knew the iconic look of Kang the Conqueror. The blue face, the purple, the outfit. So when I'd expect to see Kang, I expect the comic booky look. So I didn't expect just a guy. I didn't know I didn't know any particular dude. So he had purple on him, right? But I didn't even connect that. I just didn't expect. So once he said Conqueror, that rung a bell. It's very true, dude. Oh, very cool. Those mad lads actually did it. Guitar 354 said they brought in Kang and season 2 confirmed. Holy shit. Seeing Mobius now, no Loki was super sad though. Holy crap. Yeah, that added my emotions on a not so quickly. Tom deserves recognition for his acting. That no mid-fight was packed with so much emotion. Damn, give me season 2. Yes, I agree. Give me season 2. Give me season 2. It's insane. The multiverse is crazy, and we are spiraling out of control. Kang the Conqueror. I don't know much about him at all. I know he is extremely badass. I know he's a time travel villain in the comic books, and you can do your fair share of Wikipedia or YouTube searching. There's plenty out there. I'm not going to be the one to deliver your your history on him, because I'm not that guy. I'm like the MCU nerd, so I want to know what's going on screen, and then maybe you guys can fill me in. MarvelManiacPod@gmail.com. Let us know your theories. Let us know what you think of the season Loki. I want to know your thoughts. We are going to do an after show for Loki next week. We're going to talk about everything, our theories for the next season. We're going to talk about our favorite episodes, our favorite moments. I really love these after shows with my friends, and we're going to try and format it a little bit better next time. So it's going to be a little more sectionalized, I think, and we're working on it. We're having so much fun with this podcast, and I'm going to do it as long as Marvel is making stuff this good. Marvel, keep it up. And literally, I can't wait to see what's to come. This sets up so much. They can make so much out of this. And if they keep going at this rate, we are set as fans forever. Please don't mess this up. So before we go, I want to go over the Marvel slate. We're moving out of a series today. And that is always fun, but always kind of like, maybe for the listener, like, what are we going to do next? This is my podcast for this show. Is this show going to go on? Yes, it is. It is. This is Marvel Maniac. We're not just here for Loki. We love Loki. We'll always talk about Loki. We'll come back to Loki season 2, of course. We're going next officially, and it's only a few weeks after the ending of Loki. So the next show is What If? Marvel's What If, August 11th, 2021. That is the most Marvel thing we could be covering, and I couldn't be more excited to be covering every episode of that. Each episode is a different story of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We get Guardians of the Galaxy stories, Iron Man. If Iron Man was saved by Killmonger at the beginning of Iron Man, so like what if Killmonger had the help of Tony Stark before Tony Stark became Iron Man? Like what? The whole MCU would be changed. So literally Loki and Sylvie, they changed the multiverse so much that this series was created. And the multiverse is broken. And I think this show was created because of it. And literally, this show is already considered, I say literally so much, I'm acknowledging it now, and my ums. I'm working on verbal fillers. I'm acknowledging all this. I'm a Marvel maniac, and I'm also a self-conscious person. And we got Hawkeye later in 2021 as well. There's no confirmed date for that, but that's most likely going to be September or October, and latest November. But we have Miss Marvel in also this year, so I would guess that's going to be in like November or December, right? As far as movies go, next month we got Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings on September 3rd. So we are going to be probably going to get that during our airing of What If series. So we're going to have a lot of Marvel coming up. And then Eternals towards the end of the year at November 5th, right before Thanksgiving. And then right before the year ends, unless they push it back, which I don't think they're going to do. I'm surprised we don't have a trailer yet. I'm assuming the trailer's not here yet because of the multiverse stuff in this Loki series. On December 17, 2021, to end out our year, we are going to get Spider-Man No Way Home. And that's with Sony. Can I get a hell fucking yes? Are we serious? Are we seriously getting a new Spider-Man movie this year? I cannot wait. I couldn't be more thrilled to be here with you at Marvel Maniac, an MCU after show. I have the chills, and I want to talk all night and into the day with you. But I also have plenty of more episodes to be able to do that. And last week's Black Widow episode, like I said, I want to go back and touch back on Black Widow because I loved the movie. I would love to re-see it, rewatch it again, take more notes, and I think that movie deserves more. There's a lot more to say about it, and like I said, there's no spoilers at all for that here, so I'm not going to say anything more about that. But if you listen to that episode and you feel like you didn't get enough combo from me about that, let's talk a little bit more about it, and let's get your thoughts on all of this. MarvelManiacPod@gmail.com, at MarvelManiacPod on Twitter. If you'd like to donate to the show. It's paypal.me/Mr. Honest Podcast will be the best place to do it right now. And everything goes right back into the show. Never expected, completely appreciated. And we would love to see you next week for our after show for Loki and Black Widow consecutively. We will see you then. And until then, Avengers, disassemble.